The hardest event in Dokkan history? That's what Ken said. We will be hopping into the Festival of Battles here, where only a handful of skilled players will be able to clear this event with its gargantuan 50 phases. Spoiler alert, we do get the no item run, but not first try. But yeah, with 25 stones and some cool titles on the line, I cooked up a fairly obvious team to take on this event, and we got it done in the second try. Am I a skilled Dokkan player now, Ken? Of course, we're gonna hop into it no items, and in the first run, we almost got it. We almost beat it in the first run. Of course, the first couple phases here is all just trash fodder, easy, just opportunities to stack. The only hard part in the beginning phases here is trying to hold back while still being able to kill the enemy. But later on, you get enough charges where you don't need to hold back and you could just stack with all of your units pretty evenly. And if you've been attempting this event, you'll quickly find out that the phases aren't really that difficult itself. Even the final phases, where the bosses are hitting for 24 million super attacks and up to 10 million normals. The hard part is killing the bosses with your limited charges. You really gotta plan around that. You gotta smartly stack up your units. This whole event is just a balancing act, a whole clown circus act, because you have to constantly flip-flop between stacking defense and stacking attack with the 10th year fusions. Of course, the 7th years are just goated in this event. They're fine even if you do float them at some points in this fight, which we do in both of our runs. SSJ4 Gogeta though, we mainly did keep on rotation with Goku because that is a power rotation that we would like to keep. It was mostly the LR gods that we floated off in the majority of the fight compared to the SSJ4s. But near the end in our completed run, you'll see that things got pretty scary, so we had to do some maneuvers. I'll leave it at that for now. But yeah, here we got our SSJ4 rotation set up. So we're pretty much set on this rotation. The tricky part is the other rotation. Do we set up Gogeta and Vegito? Do we set up the LR Gods and Vegito? We have a Vegito floating. When do we put that Vegito on rotation and stack him up? That's the whole circus balancing act I was talking about in this run, because you can't just keep one singular Vegito on rotation the entire time, or just keep Gogeta on rotation the entire time with the LR gods. You do have to flip-flop, and you've got to switch between Vegeta and Goku's exchange, constantly stacking attack or defense depending on the situation. I did really focus stacking defense for most of this run because I wanted to absolutely make sure that they could tank the normal attacks near the end of the phase, which hit up to 10 million. But at the minimum, I wanted to keep them around 4 to 5 million defense, and then we could focus on stacking up attack for the whole second half of the event. There is only a few problematic phases once you get near the middle, but at that point, the LR gods and the SSJ4s have stacked up so much you don't even have to transform them. They could just handle the super attacks in their base. Pretty much every unit by that point can as well. When you really want to start transforming with the 7th years is by Tech UI Goku, because that's where the huge damage jump happens, where it goes from like 6 million supers to like a 12 million super. Even then, you'll see when we reach that point, I think my SSJ4s and LR gods both had around like 10 million defense, and with guard they could probably tank that very comfortably. But of course, the SSJ4s and the LR gods guard only last for 7 turns in their base. So at that point, it is pretty recommended to transform them. Unless you get very lucky with super attack placement. Yes, lucky. There's lots of RNG involved in this run as well. I've seen a lot of people getting screwed up by orbs, but I haven't really had an issue with orbs in both of my runs because the gods double orb change, double rainbow orb change, and then Gogeta orb changes as well. So I didn't really have too much of an issue with orbs. Early on, probably, yeah, there was a few points where I wasn't able to get the 18 key super with exchange Vegeta or Goku. And that definitely does matter because that's where their 50% stacks are at on their 18 key. So it was crucial to try to get them their 18 key at a minimum whenever they could attack. Now the hard part is the unit that's floating usually does not get to attack. Like the whole first half of this event, or like the first 60 or 70% of the event, the unit in the third slot just becomes a ghost and they're not able to attack or nothing. That's when you really gotta just monitor all of your units' defense, their attack stats, see which other units you have to float off. In some situations like this one here, I had to float off the LR Gods just to stack up the fusions here and Namegoku because Namegoku was lagging behind as well. Near the end portion of the whole event though, Namegoku just pretty much became a slot and floater and just floated the entire fight, because when you get to those later phases, the enemy has enough health to where your floaters are getting attacks in, so that's when Namegoku could start stacking up pretty comfortably. But the decision to keep him on that one rotation was to just build up his defense enough for the normals and maybe even a slot 3 cheeky super attack for some of the later half phases. This first run I did do all in one sitting. It was like 2.5 hours around there. But the second run, of course, I did not do in one sitting. I did like half of it right after this run and then the other half way later, like a couple hours later. I mean, you'll see when we reach the end, our clear time is pretty insane. Now I gotta go back in and finish it in one sitting, like bruh. But yeah, situations like this where we had to stack up with Gogeta, we kept Vegeta in exchange Vegeta to stack up his defense in second slot. And of course, Namegoku got to attack in slot 3 here. And you'll notice, yeah, we did float off the gods pretty heavily in this run, and even our winning run as well. They were still able to reach a crazy number of defense. We didn't float off the gods as much in the second run as this one, but we did still float them for the occasional flip-flop between the fusions, the 10th year fusions, to stack up their defense or even their attack. This is where holding back with the 7th years can get a bit dangerous, because if you don't kill the boss, you lose. You run out of charges, you lose. At no point in this run or the second run were we in danger for the first like 47 phases. There's a chance that when you get to like Tech UI and onwards from that a unit in slot 3 like Namegoku could get caught by a super attack. But there's a little bit of cheese that you can do to counteract that, and that is of course the Scouter. You can just pop the Scouter, see where the rat boss is super attacking, and then just reset and put your units wherever you need them. Now these duo fights aren't really an issue, especially these early ones. I mean, they have no HP. The one that is a real pain is, what is it, phase 47. Glorio and Daima Goku, the Daima phase. It is a duo fight. Both of them have 800 million HP, and you only have 9 charges to beat both of them. The reason that's so problematic, you'll see that in this run here, is that the jump from the previous phase being 900 million HP to 2 800 million HP bosses, what, 1.6 billion HP total pool, but you still have the same amount of charges to beat them. So the people who struggle to kill Goku's 900 million HP with 9 charges, well, now you gotta take down 1.6 billion HP with 9 charges. Now the last 2 phases become manageable because you have 12 charges, even though it is 2 billion HP. That's when you have all the fusions, all the active skills and everything to just go off. But there is a situation where you might have to hold back in Gogeta, the second last phase. And if you hold back too much, you might not do enough damage and you might run out of charges, because you absolutely have to save at least one Vegito active skill for the final phase. But the other one, you might have to use it during the Daima phase and obviously Gogeta to shave down some of that 2 billion HP. A way I can see a lot of people doing this is lining up that Dokkan attack for that Daima phase, so you can just deal that huge first hit to both of them with the Dokkan attack. Maybe then you won't have to waste an active turn with one of the fusions. Also, this is very funny. There's phases like this, like Kid Buu, World Tournament Goku, and UI Goku, which have the nullifications for unarmed super attacks. World Tournament Goku has the Ki Blast super attack nullification, and then UI Goku has a chance to dodge. So if you're unlucky enough against UI Goku, your run could get ended. And against the nullification phases, you shouldn't have an issue because both of your, well, all of your units have multiple super attacks you can work around. So unless you play it very horribly, or you get extremely bad key luck where you're not able to get the 18 key or aim for the 12 key. That's when you might get screwed over by the nullification. But some of the nullification phases are nice to just get some nice stacks on your units. Like for Kid Buu, you can stack both of the 7th years pretty nice, and as well as the 10th years in there without doing too much damage and just one turning the phase. Because you'll see, we don't really go all out with the 7th year fusions for most of the run. Near the end is when we start picking up more key with them, because they just start to do way too much damage. Even if they do get their guaranteed super attacks with their, their 20 key, that's when they start to do just crazy amounts of damage. So you really do want to make sure you are balancing those stacks. You don't want to kill the bosses in one turn too quick when you have 6 charges to work with. Like here's the perfect example. We go into Cell and the Elder Gods just eliminate Cell's health to the ground. And even though this phase has 6 charges, we kill them in just 3 charges there, which was a wasted opportunity to stack with our other rotation. So small moments like that is where you might have to hold back in some situations, get some extra stacks for your other rotations so you're not just skipping by. Of course, this is all just for the no item run. I've seen a lot of people just equip that OP-ass support memory that lasts the entire fight. That is super helpful. At that point, you don't really have to worry too much about balancing your stacks. And then, of course, for the last phases, you can just pop like double Whis and Icarus and stuff. But yeah, up to that, it's just a lot of micromanaging. It's like a long fight where you have to pay attention to all of your units throughout the entire fight and make sure everyone's doing okay on their defense stacks, their attack stacks. I actually don't know if this is the hardest event. If Ken was right, is this the hardest event in Dokkan history? I don't know. It's for damn sure the longest event in Dokkan history. Very hesitant to say this is a difficult event. It's probably in the category of a tedious event. I think Red Zone Broly and some of those stages like that are more difficult on release, of course. But stuff like those last couple phases definitely are the most difficult bosses in the game. Maybe the Battle Hardened Formidable Foe stage is more difficult than this event. I actually haven't done any of the new stages yet, so I can't really judge those yet. Testing a bunch of units in this stage is going to be very annoying though. One of the teams I did want to try out was Glorio's team, and I did want to see how far that could go. After this goes up, I'm definitely just going to try that Glorio team. Curious to see if it could get it done. I think it can, but I think you just have to get very lucky with Glorio's crits, otherwise you're done for. But yeah, right after I get this up, I'm probably gonna go do that, do the Glorio run. At this point, you could probably tell I was just fully locked in into beating this stage here. We got the Spotify blasting in the back. The first defense check is coming up, as well as the first damage check with the SSJ4 Goku phase, where he hits for around like 4 million. And he has, what, 400 million HP. That is the most awkward part of this entire event, is those jumps in those certain phases. Like going from World Tournament Goku to SSJ4 Goku is like a, what, 300 million jump in the boss's HP. And a huge damage jump for the boss super attack as well. As for the normal attacks, there isn't really a huge jump in the normal attacks throughout the event until you get to like the last 3 phases of the fight, where the Daima phase is hitting for 5 million normals, then Gogeta and Vegito is hitting for 7 million and 10 million normals. If Gogeta gets that attack raise on his super. Oh, I probably should have mentioned this earlier, but the dupes in my units, my 10th year fusions are both 79%, GT Goku 79%, and the rest rainbow, right? Yeah, SSJ4s are rainbow, the LR Gods are rainbow, and of course Namek Goku is rainbow. In my winning run, I didn't really see a difference to my Vegito compared to the rainbow friend Vegito, but there is a noticeable difference in the early phases where my Goku is starting to lag behind in attack stacks, and the friend is able to just stack up attack much more comfortably. Defense-wise, they're pretty similar, I guess. I think 79% is, of course, the biggest threshold to getting your units in that huge power boost. because that's when you could use all those anniversary equips. And the 7th year equips, I did use all the defensive equips for the 7th years in this first run, but in my second run, I swapped the gold slot, the 79% slot, that gold equip that has that additional in defense. I changed it to the newer one, which has the additional and attack, the flat attack buff. Since I did realize that we did need just a bit more damage, you'll see that unfortunate occurrence later. But yeah, here's the big jump. We're in the Goku range, the Goku phase range. This is where the event starts to pick up, where the normals start progressively hitting harder. The super attacks for the bosses start progressively hitting harder. Like Vegito Blue and onwards is like 4 to 5 million, up to 6 million super attacks. And of course their health is at like 500 million, and they're increasing their health by 50 million every single phase. This is where I could see where you might not get a 24 key with one of your units, and you might not do enough damage. But by this point, even though there's a big jump in the boss's supers during this part of the event, there's in no way in hell any unit is dying to a super attack in this part. If you've been managing your unit's defense and their stacks, by this point, no unit should be in fear of taking a super attack. Like I mentioned before, that's only really an issue when you get to Tech UI, when his damage jumps to like 11 million from the previous phases that were hitting for like 6 million. But yeah, in this first run here, I thought we did die because I thought Vegito Blue only was 6 charges, but then I realized, oh, it is not only 6 charges, we're fine. We have an extra 3 charges to work with. So yeah, this is when you get the 9 charges around this part of the fight. I mean, the boss's HP is getting pretty ridiculous here, so 9 charges is enough to perfectly wipe out these bosses. When it does become an issue though, is when you get to that jump from the Broly movie Goku phase, that Fizz LR Goku. He has 900 million HP, and it's what, 9 charges? Then you have to go into the Daima phase, which is a combined HP pool of 1.6 billion, but you still have 9 charges. So I think that's the biggest roadblock in this entire event, that huge jump in HP there, trying to kill that phase without utilizing all of your active skills and trying to save those for the last 2 phases. That's where I think if you try to line up a Dokkan attack for that Daima phase, that's when you might be able to just save both of your Vegito active skills for the last 2 phases. Then you could just blast by that and beat it pretty comfortably at that point. But yeah, you can see here with these couple phases, we're having no issue at all here. In the first run and the second run, I was following through on the stats for each boss, but I didn't notice that Beast was scripted. So here I reset it for the active skill or the scouter to check where the super attack was, but of course Beast is scripted to super attack always on his second turn on the final attack, so there was no need to scouter cheese there to fish out where the super attack was. But at this point in the fight, you definitely do want to start scouter cheesing, because if there's a super attack on one of your units in the 3rd slot, maybe like Namagoku has been lagging behind in his stacks and he's not at 5 to 6 million defense. If he gets hit by one of those super attacks, he might take a tremendous amount of damage. So yeah, just to be safe at this point in the fight, I would start using your scouters to just see where the super attack is. Then you could reset and be safely moving on throughout these phases. But yeah, you can see there, we almost 2-turned Beast right there. Only 1 health bar left, so kind of have to decide on this phase or this turn right here which stack I want to give, but we're able to get stacks with both of them there. And of course we had to float off the gods to tank that Beast super attack, so that was the thing there. So we do have some time here to just stack both of the 10th year fusions and try to get them built up for the last few phases, because we're getting pretty close at this point. This is what, this is phase 44, I'm pretty sure, so we're getting close to that huge damage check. Boo does have an increased amount of HP compared to the previous phase, but you'll quickly realize that's not really too much of an issue, because last phase we did almost beat it with just 6 charges. So yeah, having that extra 3 charges is definitely very impactful. But yeah, we decided to transform into Gogeta pretty early on this run because I was scared we weren't going to do enough damage. So yeah, I decided transforming into Gogeta here. But I think we would have done enough damage if we just stayed in base SSJ4s, but I didn't want to risk it too far in the run here because there's a chance we like missed multiple 70% procs here. Of course, Vegeta in slot 1's not going to be too much damage, but slot 2 and 3, they could do enough damage there. Now this is where stuff started getting real. We're at the Tech UI damage check here. He's hitting for an 11 million super attack. His normals at this point aren't that threatening. They're only at like 3 million around that range. And his HP is actually less than the phase before this, the Boo phase. But yeah, the jump in the super attack damage is around like double. We go from like a 5-6 million super attack from Boo to an 11.5 million super attack here. Right here, I did risk it by not popping the Scouter, but I figured the cooldown is enough, just enough for UI to not super attack this turn. So if I was going to take a risk, well, there wasn't really any risk here. I could have just popped the Scouter, reset, just to be safe. But yeah, you can see UI goes down way quicker than Fat Boo there. But yeah, this is another phase check right here. A phase check. We have this Goku. This is the one that I've seen people get caught by. It's what, a 13 million super attack, and he has around like 4 million normal attacks. But the hard part here, the jump in HP. UI Goku's HP is only 450 million. This phase is a 900 million HP boss, and we have the same amount of charges as the previous phase. So we really have to output some tremendous damage here. And up to this point, we've been able to keep our gods just stacking up. So we have our LR gods transformed here to do some crazy damage. So this seems like a sweep here, unless there's a super attack in slot 3 where we have to float off one of the 7th tiers. That's an unfortunate situation, but that could be a situation that ruins your run. Here, we got kind of lucky where the super attacks were where we wanted them to be, but you'll see next phase, that wasn't really the case. So yeah, we effortlessly go through this phase here, even with that ginormous HP buff. But if you paid attention, you'll see we still had to use all 9 of our charges here. Well, I guess we only had to use 7, but whatever. And here it is. If you thought that was a big jump, this is the big roadblock of this event. This phase is a 1.6 billion HP pool phase, but it's not only that. It is a duo fight where both of them get super attack for 17.5 million. So yeah, you gotta really plan out here. And this is where I was stuck in decision making. I was like, why is there a super attack in slot 3? Can this Goku even tank that? I was looking through his kit, revising everything, checking if there's any situation where I could possibly see a breakthrough. But in the end, I decided, well, our only choice here is to transform into one of the Vegetos. That's our only choice, right? This is where RNG comes into play, because if super attacks were both in slot 1, we're fine here. That super attack being in slot 3 really screwed us over. But the big mistake I made here, I did not use Vegeto's active skill. And that means, you'll see, we did not do enough damage on this phase. This is where we lost, because we did not do enough damage in the measly 9 charges we had. So yeah, we definitely could have got this done in the first try if we just used the Vegeto active skill right here. But I was thinking way too far ahead, and that resulted in us losing to the charge count. Now their normals here are threatening because they are, what, 5 million? So if you had a couple stackers that were lagging behind, they can get caught here, but at this point, all of our units are perfectly built up, and yeah, we get the 9999999 counter right there. Gogeta goes off on this turn. We kill Daima Goku, but Glorio still has pretty much full HP. And yeah, we were not able to kill Glorio. It got very close. We were like a sliver of HP away, but we just were not able to kill Glorio. If I used the Vegeto active skill, we definitely would have shaven down Glorio's HP, enough to the point where this turn right here could finish up Glorio. But yeah, you could tell right here, I knew we lost. 9 charges for 1.6 billion HP is very brutal. Even if we did, yeah, we did transform into Gogeta, but you'll see, even with that, we did not do enough damage. So yeah, this was the biggest roadblock in the entire event. If you don't use one of the Vegeto active skills, or just get very lucky with SSJ4 Gogeta's counters, you're gonna end up in a situation like this where 9 charges is just not enough. And we got the quad super with Gogeta as well, but yeah, you'll see Glorio lives there with a sliver HP, and we get the game over screen. But yeah, we hopped right back in for the second run, and we won in this run that we continued throughout the day. Main difference here, you can see I learned from my mistake. This time we had to absolutely use the Vegito active skill here to try and get some damage done. And here I thought we might lose because Daima Goku still had HP left, Glorio still had HP left, and honestly they weren't attacking that much, so I was fearful that Vegito's counters would not be enough, and we're gonna have another situation of Glorio just living with 2 HP. Oh yeah, for the music heads out there, you can see during this time, that's when Clipping dropped their album, and I was listening to their album while finishing up this run, just blasting that new Clipping, completely locked in, just to get past this phase and possibly beat the run finally, and we did. You can see here, the LR gods did their work. Even though they didn't get that many orbs, they still did just enough damage there to finish off Daima Goku. And of course, Vegito did enough damage with his counters. But you'll see here, this got close. Goku, if he did not get the additional super attack, we would have lost, for sure. So even with Vegito active skill, it got still very close. Now here it is, our first time at the Gogeta phase. This is the second last phase. Gogeta has 2 billion HP. His super attack is hitting for 24 million. His normals after he supers are hitting for 10 million. And you can see, we got pretty unlucky here because Gogeta decided to super attack in the 3rd slot. What does that mean? We have to float off one of our crucial units, which is SSJ4 Gogeta, because he's the only one on this entire rotation that could handle that super attack. And I was honestly surprised SSJ4 Gogeta tanked this shit for double digits. Easy. Having to float off this juggernaut of a unit was very concerning. And you'll see the bad luck does not end here as well, because next turn, we got pretty bad luck too. And yeah, if we got the counter here, that would have been very nice. That's huge damage, but yeah, you'll see Gogeta tanked that shit for double digits. But yeah, the bad luck did not end here. Gogeta, super attack, middle slot. What does this mean? We cannot put Vegito there. Maybe we can, maybe he could live, but I didn't want to risk it. So we go with the LR Gods in slot 2. The reason this is unfortunate is because Vegito's counters are going to do so much damage if we put him in slot 2 right there against all of those attacks. But I wasn't confident enough in my Vegito to tank that super attack, especially without his active skill up. Another thing I was worried about is Namegoku possibly taking damage from normal attacks here after Gogeta super attacks. But Namegoku at this point, he was at like what, 9 million defense, so I think he was okay. But yeah, if you get a few unlucky turn of events and Namegoku's not able to stack in the early phases in slot 3 floating, then yeah, a situation like this would be detrimental, where Namegoku starts taking like 400k per normal. But me, being the skilled Dokkan player I am, of course, I got Namegoku his proper stacks, so he was okay here, even with the 9 million defense and about like 20% damage reduction he has. I actually don't remember if the LR Gods did attack break the super attack. Okay, they did not, but I'm pretty sure we dodged it, because can the LR Gods tank that? They probably can, yeah, definitely they can. But yeah, Goats, they dodged the super attack, so we're no danger there. Namegoku we discussed already, he has 9 million defense or 8 million, whatever he was at. With the small damage reduction he has, that is just enough to tank the normals. Now here we go again. This bastard, rat bastard, is super attacking in slot 3. If you're smart, you'd notice that we had our rotations perfectly set up where Gogeta and Vegito would have both of their active skills turns ready for the final phase. But what did we have to do here? We had to transform into Gogeta and float him off, which was very unfortunate. This was looking like an L, because while we're probably going to be fine on this fight right here, I was thinking ahead. I'm envisioning it. When you get to Vegito, we have Vegito's active skill ready, but we don't have Gogeta's active skill support. Vegito doesn't do enough damage on his counters, and we lose because we run out of charges. So yeah, I was pretty scared going into this next phase because we floated off one of our main setups for the final phase, and it was not looking too great. Not looking too great. And previously we floated off SSJ4s, and that was tragic, and we're gonna have to float the SSJ4s again here on this next turn. And honestly, SSJ4 Gogeta, besides Vegito, is like the best unit on this team for this run here. I had no fear of Gogeta taking the super attack here. I know he could tank this shit very easily, especially after super attacking. Even if I didn't get as much defensive stacks with LR Gogeta as compared to Vegito, because I did mostly float off LR Gogeta at times. But yeah, as long as we get those supers in, he's fine. We get 60% damage reduction, millions of defense. We're okay here. Even against a 24 million super attack. I mean, yeah, we saw the SSJ4 or SSJ4 Gogeta tank that shit easy as hell. But yeah, I decided to launch the active skill here. We're on our final 3 charges. We gotta just do as much damage as possible. I was tempted to leave SSJ4 Gogeta in slot 1, but I had to float him off here because I do want to get him next to Goku, because those GT links are just so massive, especially this late in the run where every attack stat bonus counts. It was very crucial to get them paired up together. But yeah, the goats here, they go off. They're able to completely kill and finish off Gogeta on their own. And now we're here in the final phase of the fight, Vegito. This is where obviously Vegito is triple super attacking. Yes, he could super attack 3 times. 24 million super attacks. Yeah, it is devastating. So if you don't have that Vegito active skill here, it's a GG. Not because you didn't do enough damage, but you're getting supered for 24 million 3 times. You don't have the coverage for that in all 3 slots, unless you get very lucky and like Vegito's only supering slot 1 and 2, and you have your 2 Juggernaut units there to tank those. But even SSJ4 Goku here in slot 2, he wouldn't tank that shit. No way, especially with his GT links not up. But yeah, you can see here, we're not doing max damage with Vegito's counters. This is when I started stressing. We had to float off Super Gogeta. We don't have that huge active skill support buff to buff Vegito's counters all the way up to the moon, to where he's doing past the damage threshold at 9999999. So what I decided to do is give him that pseudo buff of SSJ4 Goku's super attack support, so he can kind of reach that threshold. And you can see right after here, we do reach that threshold. And here I was like, okay, maybe we got a run cooking here. Maybe this is it. Maybe we'll finally do it here in the second run here, because we still got 9 charges to work with. That is 3 more rotations, so surely we can pull this off, right? Our next turn here is going to be the most important turn in this entire fight, the deciding factor of if we win or lose, because we're going to have to do some shenanigans. We're going to have to do some crazy work, or we're not going to kill Vegito in time, or one of our units are going to get caught and it's over. And you'll see here, what do we have? Vegito super attacking slot 3. Yeah, that is why it is so crucial to have Vegito's active skill saved for this fight. One misplay I did here, I could have swapped into Vegeta here and then used the Gogeta active for that attack support, extra support. But yeah, you'll see. If we don't kill Vegito on this turn, we lose, because Goku in slot 3 there is not tanking that 24 million super attack. No way in hell. But yeah, you can see with the Gogeta active skill, the LR gods are at a crazy number here. Their opening super attack was a 180 million attack stat. Their additionals are hitting all over the threshold here almost. Yeah, we got very lucky, because yeah, you'll see Gogeta's not at a high number here. You might think we lost right here, but Gogeta's able to do his guaranteed 3 super attacks. We know that. I was, of course, praying that 4th super attack proc hits here. Otherwise, there is a chance we might lose, but we get the additional normal. At this point, I was sweating. I did not know if Goku in slot 3 had it in him to finish this fight. What he had to do here was hit every single proc. And as you can see, that he did. In crunch time, Goku was able to get all of his procs here, and he got that last one there, and that was the deciding one. If he didn't get that, we lost. But yeah, there was the hardest event in Dokkan history, according to Ken. We got it done in our second run here, no items. Yeah, you can see there our time is at the max because we didn't do this in one sitting. I did it throughout the whole day, so yeah, maybe next time we go do it in one sitting and get our proper time. But for now, I was just hoping we get that no item run done out of the way, then we could hop in with like Glorio and stuff and do everything else. But yeah, there it was. Get all those missions done, and we get finally our new shiny title, which I was pretty hyped to get on here. But yeah, there it was. Festival of Battles. Is it the hardest fight in Dokkan history? Was Ken capping? Let me know. I don't know for sure, but I do know this was one long hell of a fight, and it was tedious for sure.